Robin, it's been 3 years since we last spoke. It's your older sister here. I bet you've been feeling down ever since I stole your husband, right? But cheer up. I've got some good news for you, so don't hesitate to keep reading this message. Hello? Goodbye. Hey, I said I've got good news. Listen to me. I'm getting married to a rich boyfriend, so I'll be returning your ex-husband to you. He said he's ready to remarry you, so take him back with open arms, okay? What kind of misunderstanding are we dealing with this time? Huh? What misunderstanding? What part of what I said is a misunderstanding? I'm just letting you know I don't need your ex-husband anymore, so I'm giving him back to you. Ex-husband? I never got divorced in the first place. Wait, what? I got married 4 years ago, and my husband and I haven't had any major arguments. We're getting along well, and we even have a 2-year-old child now. What? You're the one who's got things all wrong. Your ex-husband fell in love with me, and we ran away together. That's why he's been living with me for the past 3 years. There's no way I could be mistaken about that. It's the undeniable truth. Well, it's true that you've been living with someone you believe to be my ex-husband. That much is a fact. Right? But here's the thing. The man you think is my ex-husband isn't my husband at all. He's someone completely different. Wait, what? 3 years ago, when you sent me that weird message saying, I'm taking your husband, and then disappeared, my husband and I were actually on a vacation at a resort. To get more specific, at the exact moment your message came through, my husband and I were strolling hand in hand through a beautiful resort town. What? Ever since then, my husband and I have been living together as usual with no problems in our marriage. So the man you think is my husband has to be someone else entirely. What the heck? Well, if that's the case, you should have contacted me right away. The fact that you didn't means you're lying to cover up the pain of having your husband stolen from you. Didn't you have me blocked until just recently? Of course I did send a message to correct you, but it was never marked as read. What? You're kidding, right? Robin! Hey, what the hell is going on here? Why on earth am I getting served with a demand for compensation? You better explain this to me right now. Why are you even calling me about this? Because you said I didn't actually steal your husband, right? There's no reason for me to be hit with a compensation claim if that's the case. By the sound of it, I'm guessing you received a certified letter, right? So you do know something about this. I'm not directly involved. I've only heard some of the details, that's all. Well, then explain it to me. You know the name of the person filing the claim, don't you? You should have seen it on the letter. Huh? I take it you didn't even bother to carefully check the details before deciding this was my doing and coming after me. The name listed here, it says Miriam? That's right, it's our cousin, Miriam. What? Why would Miriam? She's the one who used to call me big sister and looked up to me so much. Why would she be the one filing a claim for compensation against me? You seriously can't figure it out? What the hell is this? What's going on? If you read through the document carefully, it's all explained there, but fine, I'll make it clear for you. The Mark you ran off with, the one you had an affair with, is actually Miriam's ex-husband. What? Miriam said the statute of limitations for filing a claim for compensation hasn't expired yet. Apparently, after you and Mark split, he tried asking Miriam to take him back. That attempt to reconcile was what helped her pinpoint your current location. Of course, she flatly refused to get back together with him, though. No way. You're telling me Miriam and Mark were married? You might not have known this, but Mark, Marcus, Miriam, and I all went to the same university. What? Seriously? Yeah, first Marcus and I started dating. At the time, Miriam intentionally had a bit of interest in Marcus, but when she noticed Mark and started interacting with him, they hit it off and began dating. Eventually, after graduating from university, both couples ended up getting married. And here's where it gets interesting. By pure coincidence, the apartments we moved into after getting married were in the same complex, albeit on different floors. The A apartment complex? Exactly. Building 3 of that complex, though Marcus and I have since moved out. Wait, what was the apartment number again? Marcus and I were in Unit 305 while Miriam and Mark were in 502. That's it. What do you mean? I saw Marcus near the station and decided to follow him, thinking it was the perfect chance to figure out where you were living. The place I ended up following him to was Unit 502. Ah, so you thought you were tailing Marcus, but in reality you were following Mark instead. Now that I think about it, even though I knew your husband's name was Marcus, I guess I convinced myself otherwise while I was getting involved with Mark. Ah, well, sounds like you rewrote your own memories to fit your narrative. Jesse, you have a knack for believing whatever suits you best, don't you? That's not… You totally did, didn't you? Come on, admit it. Fine, whatever. If it's compensation, my rich boyfriend will pay for it anyway. Help me, I don't have any money. Robin, pick up! If this is about money, I'm not lending you any. I haven't even said anything yet. Well, you just said you don't have money, so it's pretty obvious where this conversation is going. Did I hit the nail on the head? Fine. Can you just lend me some money, please? I already told you, no. Weren't you just boasting about how your rich boyfriend would handle everything? He dumped me! Said there's no way he'd marry a homewrecker who's also a two-timing cheat. Oh, so he found out about your past behavior? Yeah, his parents had me investigated when he mentioned me to them. Ah, well that makes sense. When a family has money, they have to be careful about people who might target their assets. Especially when it comes to marriage, they're bound to be extra cautious. This isn't the time for you to be analyzing their reasoning. What am I supposed to do now? Figure it out on your own. You're my sister. You're supposed to help me when I'm in trouble. Don't pull the sister card only when it's convenient for you. You got yourself into this mess by going after someone you thought was my husband. Sure, your mistakes didn't directly harm me, but Miriam ended up being the real victim in all of this. Why should I lift a finger to help someone who's done nothing but cause problems? I can't believe this. Oh, and by the way, don't even think about turning to Mom and Dad for help. What? They were furious about what you did 3 years ago. Your little escapade ruined their relationship with Uncle and Aunt, the parents of Miriam. At this point, they barely tolerate the fact that I still keep in touch with Miriam. No way! That's how bad it got. In fact, Mom and Dad wanted me to tell you something. They don't consider you their daughter anymore. They don't want to see your face ever again. And they've officially disowned you. You can't be serious! Oh, I'm completely serious. Also, they've moved, so if you're thinking of showing up at the old house, don't bother. Some strangers are living there now. Nobody's going to help me. What am I supposed to do now? Robin, this is Jessie again. You can't just abandon me like this. You know I made mistakes, but I'm still your sister. Doesn't that mean anything to you? Stop calling me, Jessie. You have burned too many bridges to expect anything from me anymore. I have my own life, and I refuse to let your problems drag me down. Goodbye. Since it seemed like Jessie's messages were going to drag on endlessly with no sign of stopping or any real conclusion in sight, I finally decided that it was time to stop replying altogether. The endless stream of messages was getting more and more overwhelming, and the conversation isn't going anywhere. There was no sense in continuing to engage in a dialogue that seemed to be going in circles, especially when I felt like my responses weren't really making a difference. I had hoped that at some point things would calm down and she would figure it out on her own, but it was becoming increasingly clear that the situation was more complicated than I had initially thought. I had always been there for Jessie, or at least I thought I had been. We had been friends for a long time, and I'd seen her go through her fair share of ups and downs. She was the type of person who would always get herself into some kind of mess, yet somehow managed to get out of it with little more than a scratch. But this time, it felt different. This time, there was a sense of helplessness, a feeling that things were spiraling beyond her control. I didn't know how to help her anymore, especially when it seemed like nothing I said was having any real impact. She was determined to make her own choices, for better or worse, and maybe the best thing I could do for her was give her the space to figure things out on her own. So in a moment of frustration, I made the decision to stop responding and just leave her messages unread. It wasn't a decision I made lightly, and it carried with it a sense of guilt that I couldn't shake. I had always been the one to listen, to offer advice when she needed it, and to try to steer her in the right direction. But now, I wasn't sure if anything I said would make a difference. It was as though Jessie was caught up in a whirlwind of emotions and confusions that I couldn't untangle. She seemed to be stuck in a cycle of decisions that weren't leading her anywhere good, and I wasn't sure how much more I could help her when it felt like I was just another voice in the noise. Maybe, I thought, she just needed space to process everything and figure things out on her own. But as I would soon find out, leaving her on read didn't mean the end of the conversation. In the days that followed, Jessie's messages continued to flood my phone, each one seemingly more urgent and frantic than the last. It was as if she couldn't stop herself from updating me about her every move, every thought, and every new twist in the strange and chaotic story of her life. Even though I had stopped responding, it seemed like she was still looking for someone, anyone, to witness her drama, her frustrations, and her triumphs, no matter how small they seemed. The more I read, the more I began to feel like I was watching her unravel bit by bit. It wasn't just about the things she was saying anymore, it was about the way she was saying them. Her messages were no longer full of excitement and optimism about her new life in New York City. Instead, they became desperate, confused, and full of regret. Jessie, the girl that had once been so confident and fearless, was now showing a side of herself that was vulnerable and uncertain. She was trying to hold it together, but it was becoming increasingly difficult. At first, her messages had seemed harmless enough. She was just telling me about her new adventure in the city, her excitement about leaving her small hometown behind, and the promises of new opportunities and experiences. Jessie had always been the type to embrace change, to chase after something bigger and better, and she was convinced that New York City was the answer to all of her problems. It was supposed to be the fresh start she had been waiting for, the place where she could reinvent herself and leave everything behind. But as the days went by, it became clear that New York wasn't the dreamland she had imagined. New York City boyfriend is sending me money. Nobody in my hometown is willing to help me. I remember reading this message and feeling a mix of concern and disbelief. Jessie had always been good at finding people to lean on, but I had never heard her speak so bluntly about her situation. She seemed to be bragging about the money she was receiving from this boyfriend she had met online, but something about the message didn't sit right with me. It felt like she was depending on this stranger in a way that seemed dangerous and reckless, as though she was putting all her faith in someone she barely knew just because he was offering her financial support. The fact that she was so quick to turn to this guy for help instead of trying to rely on herself made me uneasy. It also made me think about the larger picture. Jessie had always been the type to expect people to come to her rescue, to offer help when she needed it. It was a pattern that I had noticed over the years, and it was clear that this situation wasn't an isolated incident. There had been countless times in the past when Jessie had found herself in trouble and expected others to bail her out. But now, it seemed like she was trying to solve her problems by relying on someone who was, for all intents and purposes, a complete stranger. It was a risky move, one that I didn't think she fully understood. But that was just the beginning. As Jessie continued to update me, her tone began to shift. What had started as excitement about her new life in New York City quickly turned into frustration and confusion. She had gone from feeling like she was on top of the world to feeling completely alone and betrayed. Guys in New York City are so cold. As soon as I went out of my way to meet him, he completely ghosted me. Reading this, I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. Jessie had been so excited to meet this guy, convinced that he was going to be the one to make her feel welcome in the city, to show her the ropes and help her navigate this new chapter of her life. But instead, he had completely shut her out. It wasn't just that he didn't respond to her messages or calls, it was that he had gone silent entirely. She had gone out of her way to meet him, and in return, he had disappeared. It wasn't just a rejection, it felt like an abandonment. Jessie had invested so much hope and energy into this person, and to have him completely shut her out was a blow she wasn't prepared for. I could tell that Jessie was hurt, but rather than sitting with her feelings, she quickly tried to brush it off and move on to the next thing. "I've already found a new guy. Typical me, right?" It was clear that she wasn't letting herself fully process what had happened. Instead of confronting the feelings of disappointment and hurt, she was throwing herself into the next thing that came along. This new guy, this new relationship, was her way of trying to fill the void left by the first. But even as she typed those words, I could tell that she wasn't fully convinced by the new situation. She was trying to convince herself that everything was fine, that she could handle it, but deep down, I knew that she was just running from the pain of being hurt. She wasn't facing her feelings, she was covering them up with a distraction of a new relationship. And it wasn't long before that relationship began to show its own cracks. My new boyfriend lent me some money, but something feels off about him. This was when I began to get really concerned. Jessie had been so confident earlier, so quick to jump into a new relationship, but now she was expressing doubt. She didn't explain what exactly felt off about him, but it was clear that something was wrong. Her intuition was telling her that she was getting herself into another dangerous situation, but she wasn't sure how to get out of it. I could almost feel her internal struggle as she tried to justify her actions while simultaneously realizing that she had made yet another mistake. What should I do? He told me I need to earn money here, and then he took me to this really shady place. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I could sense the panic in her message, the fear that had crept in as she realized she was in over her head. What kind of place was she talking about? What did this guy want from her? Why had she ended up in a situation where she was being asked to earn money in a shady place? It was all too much, and I couldn't help but wonder how she had gotten here. How had she gone from being a girl with dreams of a fresh start in New York to someone caught in the dangerous situation like this? This is so bad. Her brief, desperate message left no room for doubt. Jessie knew that she was in trouble, but she didn't know how to escape. It was clear that she was stuck, unsure of what to do or who to turn to. She had gone down this path before, but this time it felt different. The stakes were higher, and there was no safety net. Please help me. That was the last message I received from her. I sat there for a long time after reading it, the weight of her words sinking in. I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of worry for her. She'd gotten herself tangled up in a situation that was beyond her control. And now she was reaching out for help, but there was nothing I could do. It was a helpless feeling, one that I had experienced before, but never to this extent. Jessie had always been the type to get herself into trouble, but this time it felt like she was in over her head. She had gone too far, and there was no easy way out. For a long time, I kept wondering if I should respond, if I should reach out and offer her the help she so desperately needed. But in the end, I couldn't bring myself to do it. I wasn't sure what I could say to make any difference. Maybe she needed to face the consequences of her actions, to experience the fallout before she could start making better choices. Maybe she needed to hit rock bottom before she could start climbing up. So I didn't respond. Instead, I sat in silence, hoping that Jessie would find a way out of the mess she had made. I wasn't sure if she would, but I couldn't be the one to fix everything for her anymore. She had to figure it out on her own, no matter how much it hurt to watch her struggle. Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought of the story. We look forward to seeing you at the next story.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button. See you next time.